You have to know people's beliefs before you offer anything to them. That's why I don't offer
Know thyself.
Yeah.
That's what Frank and I are saying with this.
We want to verify onto what we're talking about here is the principles and the physics of it, not what to do with it. That's up to you. Honor your beliefs. You know, because this is why people who take drugs get in trouble, and this is why people who take drugs don't. I don't know the belief of the person that died from them. So that's why I don't know your beliefs, so I would never say try this. But when someone's talking about it passionately, I'm like, well, how do you feel about it? Well, I'm a little nervous. Well, if you're a little nervous, you're going to have a disruptive experience within that. So get to a point where you're not nervous, or find another method. Are you nervous about meditation? No, I just don't think it works. Find another method. This is what we're talking about. There's a plethora of modalities, thank you, that will get you to where you want to go. Guess what? You're already there. You're already there. How do you know something feels good? Because the essence of who we are feels good.
It's our natural state.
It's a natural state. So, so it's not that we're talking you in or out of something. We just want to share the principles. It's up to each individual to choose what they... And I honor that. I don't think there's a right or wrong way to anything.
There isn't.
I just don't know what's right or wrong for anybody else other than me at the moment in which I'm in. And the moment in which I'm in, this might be right, but tomorrow it might not be. And if you're trying to keep track of me, I'm going to look like a flip-flopper, but I'm not. I'm continuously expanding. But in the expansion, you can't measure it. You can't measure something that's moving other than the speed at which it's moving. Because once you, and even then, once I solidify it where it's at, I stop it. But you measure it. The speed can speed up or slow down. Everything's shifting and changing. At what point did I measure it? Yeah.
I think we can just kind of tiptoe or jump off the edge into this one. So
tiptoe,
whatever you want to call it, but I'll lead us into it.
There you go.
The most simple way I guess I can say this is thoughts create time. Time is an illusion. Time is something that is created, that's experienced. Time has no meaning. It's a concept that was created by us. And so the only thing that creates time is thought.
Yeah. And that's it. So when you break it down, so scientists then will say, like, Einstein came in and, with general relativity and understood gravitational pull and fabric time. So he coined the phrase, I believe it was him that said, it's space-time.
Oh,
so,
that was Einstein?
Yeah.
That's cool.
So general relativity. And so what Sir Isaac Newton did with gravity, Einstein, it's not that Einstein dismantled it. He gave a different outlook onto it. So what I mean is when there's a mass in a fabric, it actually puts a bend in the fabric. So when you look at time, what is time? Based off of like a pendulum. So if a pendulum goes to 1 second, 2 seconds, well, a pendulum swings based on the gravitational field. So gravity is caused by mass in, and there's probably physicists out there like this guy has it all wrong, but this is how I come to understand it. So if there's mass in fabric, it's bending the space that. If the fabric of time, it's bending it, kind of like if you had a stocking, you put a ball in it, you'd bend it. But further away from the ball, it's still flat because there isn't the gravitational pull of the mass in it. So in that's where the time. But you go where there's less mass, time slows down dramatically. So gravitational
presence, true presence.
Yeah. So we can be in this gravitational field of pull, and I can go into a meditation and be present. I can literally slow time. And I was reading this. I don't know if it's true or not because I'm not a biologist who studies this, but they were saying if you're at work doing a task and 8 hours goes by, but you felt like it was only 2 hours, well, your biological clock only aged 2 hours, even though someone was keeping score of the time and it's 8 and you're ready to go home. So I find that to be interesting. So it's kind of slowing down the field of time. And when you look at it down, we associate time with the deterioration of the body. And it's not really true because for everybody else in the room, it was 8 hours. For you, it was only 2. And you identify. I'm like, yeah, it's 5 o'clock in the evening. But yet it felt like 2 hours. And they say if they were able to measure your biological shift, you only what we call aged 2 hours rather than the 8. So you're still within the field of 8 hours. You're not denying that. So it's a very interesting concept. So time is then, what is time? Time doesn't cause anything. It's a measure of things. Just like the measuring tape doesn't cause this table to be 2 foot or whatever it is. The table just happens to be 2 foot because the measuring tape tells me that. So remember that time doesn't cause me to be old. It just measures the fact that I'm old.
It's kind of like helping keep the thoughts together.
It's
how I kind of look at a time.
It's almost like this. It's like football field. What makes a football field? 1,000 yards by 50 yards.
But that's why thoughts are continuous. People are like, oh, I hate the thoughts. I want no thought. Guys, it's not getting rid of thought. Thought will always exist. That's kind of
it's about
the holding it together.
It's about grabbing onto the one single thought and moving with it, and that's what we call contemplation. But what me and Mike are talking about, thoughts that exhaust us. If I think, oh, this is going to be great, well, the polar opposite will have to come into the field.
Oh, what if this happens?
Then this will happen. Boom, boom, boom. So then it's like you're spinning back and forth. You get so tired you don't even feel like moving. But when you
that
grab
is
on,
what everyone's so exhausted with dealing with every day. Is the mental struggle. That's why you're exhausted.
But if you grab onto a thought impulse, it's called that a
heart and mind in alignment.
Yeah. So that's a contemplation output. And it's these are just words we're using anyway. But when I look at contemplation as a thought that's moving in a direction, and then see where it takes you. Don't try to figure out where it's going to take you. If you do that, you boom, 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 boom,
There's
boom,
nothing
boom,
to
boom.
figure out.
No.
Ever.
No. How many times you have to look both ways before you cross the street? Just trust your peripheral vision and look straight ahead where you're walking. It will work. But we go this, we go that way, I turn this way, the car hits me because it was moving so fast. Just look straight ahead. Your peripheral will see a car.
It's a knowing.
Yeah.
It's a
all the parents out there. I just told my kid to look both ways. You silly bastard.
Hey, we've got to unlearn a lot of things that we've been taught since we were growing up.
Yeah. Well, but at our own due pace.
Of course.
There's still but the thing is, I think that's part and parcel of the experience of humanity.
It totally is, but it's also what's keeping us or keeping us from that awakened state that we know everyone is capable of achieving.
But if you weren't sleeping, how would you wake?
That's true.
So you need it's
kind of like your crash course.
Yeah, even the awakened state is due to the laws of polarity.
And so what is the awakened state, guys? When Frank and I say that, it is the complete absence, or I shouldn't say complete, it is the absence of thought. It is the awakened state is the elimination of mental commentary.
Or the awareness of what's going on.
Absolutely.
So if I was once not aware, the awareness becomes the awakened state. So in the true awakened state, I actually welcome the unawareness. Because in order for me to wake up, I must be sleeping. So then I enjoy the sleeping just as much as the awakening. And this is in the physical duality world, all is good. If you're just looking and hanging out and awakening, and you get back into the problem of, I only want to feel good. Well, what's good? This high exhilaration. Well, you look pretty silly at a funeral in the physical world. Or at church, you're running around. Be okay. So the goodness in everything is the peace we're searching for. So I have peace whether I'm awakened or not. And that's the ultimate awakening.
And you can be at peace at any given moment.
Yeah,
there's no moment, no death, no family trauma, no pain that can ever take away
any excitement
or eliminate your chance of peace. But that's a thing. Some people think they don't deserve peace. They're not worthy of peace because I must have this in order to be at peace. That's all conditioned thinking.
Yeah.
None of that is true. That's all mental noise. And that's what Frank and I are pointing out.
Yeah, but whenever I'm in front of someone that actually makes that statement, I'm like, that's impossible. Like, what do you mean? I'm like, you obviously know what peace is if you want it. So therefore, you must have it. So therefore, you were deserving of it. You wouldn't be able to use the word peace if you didn't have an understanding of it. So therefore, if you could say, I want to be at peace, it means you must have been there at some point. Therefore, you obviously deserve it. If there's something you don't deserve, it doesn't exist. Why do you even care? But everything you want to experience, you have at some level. Therefore, you are deserving. You're just playing this flip-flop game of hide and seek. But putting my hands over my eyes doesn't make me disappear. It makes the world disappear.
So when you slow down, when you begin to let go, when you begin to just be, and you feel this serenity, when you feel this peace, you start to experience very peaceful interactions with people. You meet great people. Things are exciting. Life is, you begin to appreciate the flowers outside your door when you leave that morning. You look at the, neighbor who cut you off and you forgive him and realize he was probably in a hurry.
Or, like, everyone's great. That guy just might be a great asshole.
Seriously. So you start to see, oh, my goodness, I can let go of all of these little things that were in my head before, saying, no, you don't have time to look at those flowers. Oh, can you believe that neighbor, how he would do something like that? Does he know who you are? All of this is just noise.
And actually, because we're like an actor and persona within our own story, but also we're at the same time with a director. So if you ever watch, if you ever been on a movie set where you're watching a director direct the characters, well, the characters are playing within the field of emotions onto each other, but the director isn't. The director doesn't care if this person's angry at this person. They want that interaction, but they don't get involved with their emotions into it. So the director is just literally directing for the sake of the story, but the persona part of the character wants to get upset at that. So understand we are the director and the persona. So start directing persona.
We are this. We are that. We're not this or that. This and that.
Yeah. And we're
same concept.
So we are also the producer who put the damn show together that, like, I don't like the show. I'm like, hey, you signed off on it.
Kind of playing a huge
part. You raised
part.
the money for it. You signed off. Your name's right there. What are you going to do?
But that's the thing. That's why we're the case of the dog chasing its tail. We're ourselves holding our other self underwater. We think that the world is happening to us.
No.
And no, it's a mere reflection of us.
Yeah, it is. And once a director can whisper into the actor's ear, say, hey, I like what you did there, but let's shift the perspective in this set and do that. And all of a sudden, they do it. And then what happens is, in this field, I can roll back and start to look at how my persona acted. And so, on the movie sets when they're shooting, they'll do daily. So they'll have daily clips, and sometimes the actor will be pulled in to say, "Hey, see that? Okay." Now the actor's like, "Oh, I see what's going on there," but before I couldn't really see it. So when you are the director and the actor at the same time, you could see everything at once. And this is the awakened state. I fall into it and I fall out of it a lot. There's times I find myself in an argument, and I'm like, the director's like, "Dude, cut, stop." And I'm like, I keep going, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, shit. And I'm like, oh, my God.
But that ego also serves a purpose.
Well, yeah.
And that's the thing. We all have an ego. We all have. It's what we're talking about is awakening to that, becoming aware of it, and understanding, I don't have to think that way. I don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
I can just be. When the storm is out of control, outside, you can't stop the storm, but you can change how you're feeling about that storm. You start to slow it down
and then
here, then you'll begin to find your peace.
And then you actually move into what we call the eye of the storm, where the storm exists, but you're not affected by it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. If you actually get into an eye of a storm, it's calm, but yet you can see the swirling. But if you don't move with the storm, you get caught up in it.
You see it for what it is, the occurrence around, but it doesn't need to affect the experience itself.
No, you can actually stay in the eye of the storm.
Yeah, it's part and parcel. You can't have everything always being amazing, love and rainbows and all that. Well, actually, you can always have love. I guess what I'm saying is,
well, you can. You're
going to experience these ebb and flows, and you have to.
Yeah, but why is the ebb and flow bad? Why is that not great?
That's the thing. It's the mind saying this is
or
this isn't, and and as soon as you're just this
now, in the world,
just the movement, that's being.
Yeah, in this physical world, we are focused beings. So when I focus on something, it doesn't mean I'm anti the thing that's beside it or next to it or behind it. I'm not, but I'm focused. But I can't focus on every possible thing in the world. But sometimes, like, I'm like, no, I don't do that. Are you against? I'm like, no, I'm not against it. Like, well, why do you? I'm like, it's a focus. Focus is what makes me feel good, and somehow I'm drawn to this focus thing. I don't really know why I like pizza. I just do. You know, imagine how to explain to someone, I'm not giving you a pizza until you explain to me why I like pizza. Let that be absurd. But this is how we actually end up in conversations. How do you like that person? Why did you vote for that? How can you think about that way? How could you not? And what they're saying is, you must think like me. And I'm like, that's absurd. It's absurd. You're not wrong and they're not wrong, but you where the interference is coming in, you have to understand the concept that they have their viewpoint. Now, that's why I don't really offer mine. If people ask it, I'll say, well, I look at it this way. They're like, oh, you're anti. I'm like, no, I'm not anti anything. But I don't have time to be pro everything either. I'm like, come on, But this is why I seldom ever offer up my opinion on something, and nor do I knock anybody's opinion, because I understand the concepts and the principles.
So everybody's behavior is a direct representation of how they feel about themselves. Frank and I, we like to make that super clear with the reflection type of thing. So when you're dealing
saying
with
that I think I'm a joke?
when you're dealing with somebody and you're getting in an argument or a tip or something like that, show your true hand. You show your true cards. Forgive them. Love them.
Well, the way to do it is to understand the principles of it. You don't need to
engage.
Why do we feel bad when
engage.
someone else disagrees with us?
Because we have been mentally conditioned to believe that if this is not this way, then I am an outcast or I am this. We must think alike. If I'm out of the ordinary, I am not right. I am not correct.
And another level is we don't really believe what we believe.
Yeah.
Because we think they might be right, and they are right, but it doesn't make you wrong. So if I need people to agree with me, it's validating my belief. I'm like, do you really? If you need someone to validate your belief, it's not really a belief. I don't need someone to validate that pizza tastes good. But there are people out there that probably talked out of eating pizza. I'm like, it's shit. Like, I thought you liked it. Yeah, start thinking about it, and I don't really like it anymore. And you realize someone talked you out of liking pizza. That's absurd. Well, that's not even something we ought to discuss.
We got talked out of liking
life. I cannot believe you like pizza. Or, all of a sudden now people are like, oh, my God, I like this. I'm like, do you really? I'm like, is it, you can change your outlook. There's nothing wrong with that. But, I can't remember. Someone's like, I like liver. I'm like, you really like liver? I can't stand liver. Why would you get offended if someone couldn't stand liver or someone like it? I'm like, that's just, it's funny. It's funny. But yet it's equal in saying, I don't like this president or that president. People are like, no, it's not different. It changed. I'm like, no. Like, someone can convince you must eat liver. If you don't, you're going to die. You're not going to have enough iron in your system if you don't eat liver. Someone can convince you that so much that you'll muster up to eating liver and just throwing up every day. Someone can convince me that this person that's in charge of politics is going to affect my life only if I allow it. All right? And if you allow it, you will experience it. So therefore, it's true for you. I'm not saying it's not. But I get into the field where my beliefs sometimes are coinciding with others. A lot of times they are. But when they're not, I don't shift my belief.
Well, let's also, too, point out, so how do we know that statement is true? That you were just saying about, either way we look at it, this person will make me this way or this will that. Okay, how do we have a Democratic Party and a Republican Party? Both, know in their hearts they are right. And they both live their lives day in, day out, knowing the other party is quote-unquote incorrect. But we are still totally fine. We're still producing, living, working together, working in tandem, etc. And we have been for decades.
Yeah.
That shows you that all truths are true. We've got people on the left saying, I can't believe the world's going to end from this. And then we got people on the right saying, can you believe this? Our kids will never have whatever.
But even at some level, that's a small narrative.
All of it's noise.
Yeah.
It's all noise. It's all narrative. It's all only what you allow it to be.
Yeah.